Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is your boy Al Quarles, and welcome to Guys Talking Sports again. I know we missed last week's episode, but we're here now, so we're just going to get started. I'd like to introduce my boy Earl Ross into the mix. Say what's going on to the people, Earl.
What's up, Big Time? What's up, everybody?
All right, we're just going to get right into it. We're just going to just jump into it. Earl just told me about the score that Kansas City has just moved on to the World Series. What was the score again?
Score was 2-1. Kansas City swept the Orioles. 4 games. The manager is 8-0. The first time any managers went 8-0 in the preseason going up to the World Series ever. So that's definitely history made right there. And boys, that's the first time since 1985 they were in the World Series, which was the last time that they actually won. So big ups to Kansas City, big ups to the Royals. Big ups to all them boys there. The bullpen was phenomenal. Once they got into it from the wild card series, it was pretty much an open game for everybody. So my pick, I think, is going to be Kansas City Royals, San Francisco Giants in the World Series.
Ah, that's interesting. To be honest, because I really thought that the Cardinals was gonna go back to the but that's for a different day. But definitely, congrats to Kansas City Royals for making it to the World Series. Kind of feel bad for the Orioles though, especially for the manager. It's been, I mean, I know that he's been around for a long time, and he's still not at that point where he can make it to the World Series. But again, big ups to Kansas City Royals. A team that really nobody has even considered would even think to make it. And it just goes to show about the small team, the teams in small city areas. They're really doing it big. I mean, of course, you have like LA and the New York teams that's all about money and everything. But I'm happy to see these type of teams to get in, like the underdogs, just to get in and make it to the World Series. Same thing when Tampa Bay was Tampa Bay with their small budget. But I definitely want to see the KC Royals win. Definitely be different than from anybody else winning. At this particular point, I like rooting for the underdog.
Yeah, it's definitely been something big with the whole lot of the profit sharing and a lot of parity in baseball, whereas not as much parity what you want to see in basketball or football right now. So a lot of money is spread out to everybody. So small market teams can be good. I mean, you think about the Florida Marlins about a couple of years ago. I mean, they had one of the lowest payrolls in major leagues, and they won the World Series. And then after that, they chucked their entire roster and went right back down to the basement.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember that. I definitely remember that, and just went right back down. So, but it's good to see that baseball is still, um, it's still going. It's definitely going strong, especially with the playoffs, and it definitely seems as though that everybody is rooting for this team. So, kudos to them. Kudos to their owners and for putting up a roster like this together. I do want to say in regards to media complaining about fan base, about not enough fans taking the stands, and complaining that there's not enough fan base. People do have to realize is that this is still a small market team, and regardless of the fact, Kansas City, like you have to understand, there may be people in the Kansas City area that's not even rooting for Kansas City. So, they have other teams to root for. So everybody can't expect all fans, just because it's in Kansas City, these small market teams, a lot of people may not be rooting for them to win. I'm not even going to go in there. That's a wholly different discussion. I just think that everybody's worrying about fan base and people not showing up and people leaving, not enough support. Basically, what you see is what you're going to get. You can't really encourage people to come to a game, especially if they're not rooting for them and it's not their favorite team. So that's just my opinion about that. So,
No, no,
go ahead.
no. I feel you. I mean, it's I guess the major leagues wants to kind of be able to market their product across a wide spectrum. So you're going to have to be able to encompass the small market teams. Now, granted, there might not be as much fan base. Some of the hot city teams like New York or LA, Boston, but there's still those small markets. All these small markets were in the major leagues, since time immemorial, So I mean, for a team like Kansas City to get in there, that's been there for a while, but has been there since the beginning. I mean, that's a good look for the major leagues right there.
It is, and it goes to show that you don't have to be a big market team with the overall a big payroll to actually win it all. These small market teams are really putting a foot into to this whole league. I mean, whether it's Kansas City or fan bases in like Oklahoma City for NBA or something like, these small market teams really are having a growing fan base. And that's something that Major League, I have to say, is they're not focused on solely on big market teams. They'll push whoever has the opportunity to win. And it's going to grow. With the small market teams, it's going to eventually grow. And then you're going to see where hopefully it gets to a point where it's more balanced out.
Oh, I agree. And of course, you always want to have your historic franchises in there because it's always going to be good for the game. I mean, it's always going to be good to have as many people hate the Yankees. It's always going to be good to have the Yankees eventually good because it brings drama. And also, you need a team to hate. But small market teams, I'm all for it.
Definitely, definitely, and we'll see how this grows in the future. I mean, because right now, a lot of America teams that's out there, a lot of the usual teams that's out there that everybody roots for, that's going to quickly diminish, and it's just a matter of time before they start to see an impact, like such as a fan base dwindling down and more small market teams actually growing. So we'll see down the road. Hopefully, this will be it's a small step because now Kansas City is starting to get more notice, more so because of the players and who's on which teams. Like those teams now starting to get. I mean, those players are starting to get noticed now, where they wouldn't have gotten noticed any other time.
Exactly, exactly. So I'm a casual fan of baseball. I watch more during the playoffs and the World Series. So if you get a Kansas City, whether it be against the Giants or the Cardinals, I'll definitely be looking at it.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. So I'm gonna change subjects. There's been for those who don't know, we have usually a pretty nice forum going on where me, Earl, and a couple of our other friends, we get together and we sometimes chat about a lot of stuff, especially sports wise. And the one topic that was just going, was in full conversation was in regards to quarterbacks and the selection of quarterbacks. The reason why I'm saying this is because like a lot of people, they're in fantasy leagues, and the thing about it is that the one person, I'm not gonna say any names or anything like that, but he brought up an interesting thing in regards to black quarterbacks being where they are right now, and as far as their stats is concerned. And I figured that that's something that we could talk about a little bit, and he made up a valid point in regards to like today's these quarterbacks today, especially of African American, for example. The focus is I have to say that the focus is not really there for them to be the typical quarterback that will win. More so because they rely so much on their athleticism than more of their accuracy in passing. So I just put it out there, and I just wanted to get your take on it, Earl, in that regards.
Well, for me, um, I think the evolution of the black quarterback over the years, has always been, a run first mentality. Because I think that a lot of these black quarterbacks, maybe are not perceived that they can handle the prototypical quarterback playbook so well. So I guess when you're coming in from high school to college to the pros, let's say from high school to college, I mean, depending on which college that you go to and what kind of offensive scheme they're going to run, even if you have some athleticism, they might focus more on that to win games as opposed to more of a school that might focus on more of a prototypical NFL offense where you're under center, and you're not always in the shotgun or doing this, this run offense or this read option offense. And I think that a lot of black quarterbacks, because of their athleticism, they can run a football. I think maybe get typecast or even pigeonholed into those type of offenses. Then you got to see where these quarterbacks go. I mean, if you go to these schools that's going to run these read option and not a more prototypical offense, that's what you're going to get for the next 2 to 3 years. And so when you go to the NFL, you're going to get selected, and yeah, you might be able to run, and you might be able to, have 1 or 2 rushing, touchdowns per game. But I mean, in NFL, it's all about passing 300 yards, the accuracy, the throw, how you read defenses, how do you call the plays audible. I think a lot of those intangibles are not always given to black quarterbacks because they always think of their athleticism first and their acumen to the NFL offense or college offense second. And look, and we all know a lot of the college offenses right now, it's a lot of read option anyway. I mean, you have a couple of schools that do the prototypical, but they're not the ones that are always in the top 25. So I mean, you can, like I say, for a perfect example, you look at a Russell Wilson who went to North Carolina and then Wisconsin. Wisconsin wasn't a read option. Wisconsin ran the football a lot. He was there at Wisconsin. He lit it up, and he's not doing that much in the Seahawks because he has a great defense. So he doesn't have to be put out front. But I mean, here's the perfect example of a quarterback who can run, who can slide. But I think they're kind of easing him into the NFL offense and not letting him have to win the games where a person like Andrew Luck, he comes out, boom, you're made to win the game. So I think it's always this preconceived notion that a lot of these African American QBs may not be able to pick up that prototypical offense, so they automatically go to the read option, or a variation of that, a pistol, to augment their athleticism as opposed to letting them throw the football.
But here's my question in that regards: would that be should the ownership be on the colleges that they choose to say, okay, hey, look, I know that you're athletic, I know that you're able to run the ball, but we want to get you ready for. For me, if I'm a quarterback and I know for a fact that, hey, look, I know I can run the ball if I choose to, but I know that majority of quarterbacks that win or go on to like the Super Bowls and win championships is a typical, well, with the exception of Russell Wilson, of course, for now, but the prototypical quarterback is a throwing quarterback. And should I focus myself on just being a throwing quarterback instead of running the ball all the time and having these plays drawn up because of my athleticism, work on it actually towards my passing accuracy? Shouldn't that be on the quarterback to say, hey, look, I'd rather, you show me the ropes of treat me like I have no running, no athleticism whatsoever, and I just want to focus on throwing. Should that be ownership on a quarterback, or should it be like the coaches to take ownership and say, hey, look, I'd rather you be the throwing style quarterback instead of running when you have the option to run?
I think it should be an ownership of, it should be both, but I think it should be more on a quarterback because you're getting recruited by these schools. So you have to put in your work and your research to see what kind of offense these schools are going to run. And when these schools come calling, if they're calling to you, you're not really reaching out to them except for certain instances. But when they come to you and say, hey, we want you to come to, let's say a Florida State or LSU or something, you should let them know, like, hey, I want to be a throwing quarterback. What kind of offensive package are you going to run? If you're going to put me in a, read option or a pistol, that's not what I want. I want to throw the football. I can't throw the football. And if that school is saying that's not what they're going to do, where they probably say to get you there, but if they can't say that's the offense that they're running, you see that's not the offense that they're running before you get there, then you should not go there. And that may be not taking the sexy school over a school that might be a little bit, of lower grade, that's going to allow you to play, a prototypical, quarterback position. There's been a lot of quarterbacks have succeeded. There hasn't been at these top SEC or Pac-10 or ACC schools that are lighting up right now.
Yeah, and that's what makes it so. I mean, to be honest, from a quarterback perspective, that's what makes it so. Like, if I see a quarterback right now where let's take for example, like if I know, for example, like Peyton Manning he stays in the pocket, he reads, he studies game tape, he knows his wide receivers inside and out. You know, from a standpoint for I want to reach that type of success, I don't want to rely on my feet. I would rather rely on my arm. And if I'm doing the same thing that Peyton Manning is doing, I'll follow the same blueprint that he does, or any like Aaron Rodgers or anybody like that. I mean, what's wrong with actually just saying, telling the coaches, hey, look, I want to follow that same model so that when I prepare myself for the NFL, it'd be a lot easier of a transition for me. I don't want to go there, doing nothing but read options and running pistols all the time when I go to the NFL and the team that picks me or choose me, is not doing that. Or, it should be. I think what it is that the NFL. I mean, like right now, plays are being constructed for the player, and it should be the other way around. The player should be well in tune for whatever plays that the college brings, and I think that will help them out for when they get to the NFL to make that transition a lot more easier for them.
Oh yeah.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, I agree, and it's a lot. It's the ownership is on the player, and how much emphasis they put on these coaches to say, I want to throw the ball. I don't want to run all the time. I will run as a second or a third resort, but I want to pass. I'm going to look at the play, look at my primary receiver, do the check down, second, third check down. If there's nothing there, then run and then slide. You don't always have to run, and I think that a lot of times there's always, a lot of black quarterbacks get a bad rap, and as much as there's been some successes, there's been some misses over the past, so it makes it hard to argue that point. But it has to start from high school. As a matter of fact, in my opinion, it needs to start from, Pop Warner to high school to make sure that the quarterback, if he's black, don't always run. I mean, throw the ball, and then, gather up your steam from high school to college. Then once you're in college, then you're ready.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. I think that, like I said, it has to be. You have to cater. I mean, if you really want to get a person to be primed for the NFL, and if you want your team, whether it's college, high school, Pop Warner, or whatever, you should follow whatever works in the NFL. I mean, you can't expect like those read options to really work in the NFL. I mean, especially when you want for them to reach to that next level when they don't. I mean, teams now that are doing well in the NFL rarely use it. So, you don't see like the Denver Broncos running a read option for Peyton Manning. Well, of course, you can't because of age-wise, but you don't really see like Aaron Rodgers or you don't really see them running those type of options. It's pretty much it's pass or fail. So I think that's something that I think really it's just the whole system the architects needs to change from a Pop Warner to a high school to college teams. Of course, they utilize your athleticism, and maybe it's because that gives them the best chance to win because basically there's still their job that's on the line. But if a prospect or a Heisman Trophy candidate or whoever wants to play in the NFL, if they want to take that route, they should really focus on running plays strictly that's an NFL type of play where they don't have that option to really run unless it's a last resort. So.
Exactly, and I think that we've been hearing the talk about it, and it's it's hard to argue against how some of the black quarterbacks have been treated, and how they've been perceived, and what kind of offenses that they run. Because it's almost a smack in the face saying that they don't have the intelligence to run those offenses. But it's hard to argue against the negative when you have for every, let's say, Russell Wilson, for every stretching with a Colin Kaepernick to a certain extent. You have an Achilles Smith, or you have the guy that I can't think of his name right now that played for it. the Raiders that just flamed out.
Jamarcus.
Russell, yeah.
Mhm.
So, for every good, you have like two or three bad. So it's really hard to, and even to a certain extent, RG3. And I think that, in my personal opinion, the Redskins fans better get over it. No Kirk Cousins, no RG3, not even the Colt McCoy who they got in the third round. They better draft a prototypical quarterback because it ain't going to be none of those three in the next 2 years.
I agree. I mean, to be honest, you could say the same thing with Gino, Mike Vick.
Yeah, that's done.
Like you could definitely say the same argument goes for them. And I'm not saying, like I said before, it's the whole Geno and the Jets is that's another story.
Totally different story, yeah.
Definitely a different story. But as far as from a quarterback is concerned, in order for them to make it to that next level, they have to. I mean, to be honest, it's really more about studying and drilling in what they need to do and just keep working on the skill. Unfortunately, they've been in the league long enough to understand that and still haven't gotten a grasp of it. So, it is what it is at this particular point. Russell Wilson to me, and maybe Colin Kaepernick, those two they could do it if they want to, especially Russell Wilson. He's more of a time management person in my eyes. I think he definitely could work a little bit more on his passing. But then again, so can Colin. They could really set the bar for these types of athletes down the road to say, hey, look, I wasn't there in regards to my passing game, with my passing accuracy to where it should be. That's something that you guys can work on. And like if they say that to college kids or high school kids, hey, stay focused on your passing, make sure it's very accurate. Who's to say that it may change down the road where someone will actually come in that's African American and can focus strictly on passing.
I agree, and I was a person where Russell Wilson was a time management person, but even in the Super Bowl, I think that he didn't get a chance to spread his wings as much as he wanted to, and I think that Pete Carroll, is sort of easing off the reins of the offense, letting him do a little bit more than he did last year, and I think if he'd you have Marshawn Lynch back there, so you can just give him the ball all the time. But when Marshawn Lynch was doing a darn thing, I think that was the opportunity, especially in the Cowboys game, to kind of let Russell Wilson out and let him break out a little bit more, so to keep him confined to time management, because they could have easily won that game, but the Cowboys ran all over him. But that's a different topic right there. But get back to the black quarterbacks, I think that. For your Russell Wilson, your Colin Kaepernick, you have Geno's, Mike Vick, Teddy Bridgewater. I mean, it's like they're not getting, in my opinion, the opportunity to do what a Peyton Manning, to do what a Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, or some of the other ones out there. They're not getting the opportunity based on the offensive scheme that these offensive coordinators are coming up with to really not just focus on their running abilities, but focus on their passing abilities. And then once you get the opportunity to do that, you got to deliver.
Yeah, that's what I think is key. I'm more, and it kind of makes me wonder whether is it really because of the lack of confidence they have on the actual quarterbacks. Because as you can see, as you've seen in these past couple of weeks or past weeks since the football season started, like they haven't really done anything to make out of. Any African American quarterback hasn't done anything to this particular point to catch attention to say, okay, they're moving in the right direction. At least in my opinion.
No, but I think there will be one. And I do miss the days of Warren Moon, because he was their prototypical quarterback that could sling the rock.
Yes, I completely agree with that.
Him and Dante Culpepper, but he caused some injuries early in his career, and it kind of slowed him down. But Warren Moon, to my opinion, was your prototypical quarterback, and I would put him right now against all them other ones, and he'll light it up just the same.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. I completely agree with that. So, so real quick, because since we're on the discussion of that, next year rolls around, NFL draft. Your GM of your favorite team. I'm just going to put it out there. That needs a quarterback. Do you or do you not take Jameis Winston?
I do not take Jameis Winston.
Okay.
Not with my first pick. No.
Okay. Okay. I,
Not
I I completely agree with that. But
he
okay.
he has talent, but he's showing the lack of maturity at this particular point. He's got a lot of stuff going on.
Well, all right. Let me ask you this question. I should have asked this first. Would you take? I mean, would it be not because of his maturity level? Would it? I mean, throw the maturity out the window. Let's say, for example, he's doing fine, and everything else, but he's still the same person. I mean, the same player on the field. Would you take him based out of his performance on the field, knowing that the typical, and how the African American quarterback is, knowing how that standard is, would you still take him?
I the body of work still hasn't greatly impressed me with Jameis Winston yet. Yes, he was the Heisman Trophy winner. Yes, he won. The won a college championship. I need to see a little bit more of body of work to say because I'm a Giants fan, and the Giants fans are a defense, run-oriented football team, and it's all about getting the ball out, hitting your receivers, precision and timing. He's good. He has a lot of skills, a lot of potential. The body of work. I need to see more. I need to see a little bit more from him.
Okay, I'm gonna be honest with you. I probably wouldn't take him. If I needed a quarterback, I would probably look at all other options besides, and if he's available, I probably wouldn't even take him. I would probably see what else is out there before I would utilize my pick on him. And
If I did, yeah. If I didn't need a QB, if I'm the Giants and I have Eli Manning, you get the offensive line straight. Now that's a whole another topic. But I would do with Jameis Winston third round.
you're definitely great. More you giving him more more attention than I would, because I would go past maybe 4 rounds. But I would even look at him at the 4th round. And if I do that, I would probably pick, if I needed a quarterback, I'll probably pick 1 or 2 before I pick him. Um,
Yeah.
just off of the simple fact is that until I see for firsthand that he's proved me wrong, where I mean, like at this particular point, based on his performance, he's very mobile. I mean, to be honest, he reminds me in his performance much more like a Geno Smith was when he was with West Virginia. So I that's just my opinion. To see if he could make it in the NFL, that I would, based out of his performance, of course, that would be something I would really have to consider to make it for my team. So it was just a question I just threw out there.
Just a quick update on the NLCS. St. Louis 4, the Cardinals 4, Giants 3, top of the 4th inning.
For some reason, I still see the Cardinals taking this game. I really do. To be honest, I really, I know I said I had the Cardinals in the World Series, but this has been such a seesaw battle. Anybody can win at this point. So
Yeah, pretty much.
yeah. So all right. So that's all we're going to talk about as far as the evolution of a quarterback, especially African American quarterback. We will discuss more topics like this. I think that's where we're going to focus on, just one topic and just take it from there. So I really would like to thank Earl Ross for hanging out with me. I mean, I know it's longer than what I said earlier, but I really like to thank you for hanging out, spending time, and talk about this.
Oh, no doubt, man.
All right, and for everybody else, you could catch Guys Talking Sports every Wednesdays at 9 p.m. May change it to Thursdays every now and then, but you will check us out on Google Hangouts, on YouTube. Thank you very much for listening and checking us out. You could check the subscribe button right there. It's small, but you will see it. You could check the subscribe button, subscribe. If you have any questions, hit us up, hit me up. You see me on Twitter. I am Al Quarles. You can catch me on Google Plus Hangouts. I'll post this. I'm also on iTunes. We're also on iTunes, I should say. You can catch us on iTunes as well. Subscribe. Subscribe to podcasts. Subscribe to our RSS feed. Subscribe to anything at this point. Just make sure you check us out. Again, this is Al Quarles, Guys Talking Sports, and we'll catch you again next time around. All right, take care. One.